Hello everybody, welcome along to this video. This is Mr. Johnson Teaches Macbeth, Act 5, Scene 3, one of my quick scene revision videos that you might have seen by now, going through each and every scene in the play. If you haven't seen others, then make sure you check out those key scenes to support you with your revision. And it's important as well to have pen and paper ready for this video, just be making notes. This is a really good scene to have notes from, and I've got some quotes highlighted for you to write down as well later in the video, just because by writing this down, you're more likely to commit it into your memory somewhere, and also you've got something to look back on, your notes, later on. So yes, that's what I'd encourage you to do. This is your English literature GCSE we're talking about here for Macbeth, and for literature this is paper 1 and it's section A, making it the first question that you will sit for your English exams. So without further ado, let's move on and have a look at this then. So in summary then, what happens, you've got Macbeth preparing for the approaching English army. He knows they're on their way and he's sort of gathering things together and getting himself ready. He isn't afraid because of the witch's prophecies. They've already told him that no one not born of woman can hurt him, which to him seems like everybody, so he's actually feeling very confident. Later on in the scene, the doctor brings him news of Lady Macbeth's condition, and particularly of her suffering. It's a good scene, however, as you'll see shortly. Key characters here, well, we've got Macbeth, of course, in there, a servant who comes in and out and is treated very, very rudely by Macbeth. We've also got the doctor, who we last saw in Act 5, Scene 1, observing Lady Macbeth sleepwalking. And Satan is the other character who appears here. He seems to be one of the king's servants or sort of helpers in some way, a soldier, but we don't really ever discover much more about him, but his name is what we'll focus on shortly. So here we go then, Act 5, Scene 3. We're inside Macbeth's castle, that's Dunsinane. In comes Macbeth, the doctor, and the attendants. Bring me no reports, he says. Let them fly all, till Birnam Wood remove to Dunsinane I cannot taint with fear. By that I've put the arrow there. Macbeth is recalling the witch's prophecies and has no fear of the approaching army, because the witch has told him, none shall harm thee until great Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane. Now Birnam Woods, literally a group of trees moving up to his castle when they aren't next to each other, just sounds impossible. So he seems very confident. And then he says to Malcolm, Malcolm is King Duncan's son, who's in part of the army approaching, what's the boy Malcolm? Was he not born of woman? Again, quoting the witches there. The spirits that know all mortal consequences have pronounced me thus. And he goes to quote them, fear not, Macbeth, no man that's born of woman shall e'er have power upon thee. Then fly false thanes, he says, like go away. And he says down there, I shall never sag nor shake with fear. So he's a very confident man at this point. In comes a servant, and then Macbeth just flies off the handle as an expression. He just sort of loses it and is really rude and aggressive and angry towards this servant who's done absolutely nothing. He goes, the devil damn thee black, thou cream-faced loon, where gottest that goose look? And I put there, Macbeth throws out many insults linked to imagery of being white, and therefore white is associated with weak. White is like lacking in blood and looks all pale and sickly. So he's really, really rude to him. And that's hence the goose thing as well, like geese are white. The servant starts to say, there is 10,000 geese villain soldiers, sir. So 10,000 soldiers are approaching. Macbeth once again is rude and just shouts at him, go prick thy face, by which he means go like pinch your face. Like pinching would, if you pinch your face a few times, you're actually going to make it redder, and that's what he's saying. Go prick thy face and o'erred thy fear, thou lily-livered boy. What soldiers patch? Death of thy soul, those linen cheeks of thine are counsellors to fear. What soldiers? Whey face. All of those things in yellow there are imagery linked with white in some sense. And he's really rude. Take thy face hence, he says. And he just seems to show absolutely no worry about the approaching army. And he shouts out, this is Macbeth, Satan! So he's calling for his soldier, his assistant. But I've put there, look at the wordplay linked to the name. Quite literally sounds like Satan. Satan being the devil, like hell. And in some ways it's almost like Shakespeare trying to be a little bit clever with words here. A bit of a pun, almost like he's calling them out. He says, I'm sick at heart, and I behold Satan, I say. And it shows like disobedience in the sense of chaos in the castle. The person he's shouting for isn't coming. I've lived, now this point in the middle with this second arrow, I'll read the arrow first and then we'll look at the words, because he says, because of what he's done and the evil he's committed. He cannot expect a nice, comfortable old age with lots of friends, is what he says. He's almost caused himself to become isolated, for people to hate him, and he knows that. And in many ways, he's sort of feeling tired, and weary would be a good word there. So I'm looking next to the arrow, in fact, as well. He says just above it, my way of life is fallen into the sear. The yellow leaf, which is what trees when they're going into the autumn, when they're about to die. So he's comparing himself to this tree. The yellow leaf, and that which should accompany old age, things you'd expect, as honour, love, obedience, troops of friends. Those are all things you'd expect to have when you're older. I must not look to have, he says, so I can't have those. But in their stead, this is a great one, which is why I've put it in pink. Curses, not loud, but deep. Mouth honour. So like mouth honour, people are saying the right things to his face and honour, giving him honour to his face, but behind his back they're cursing him, and he knows it's happening as well. Shouts of Satan. Satan comes in. He says, I'll fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked, which is a really good quote for strength for Macbeth, and also just this utter sort of rage and loss of control that this character is now showing, compared to the timid, worried Macbeth we saw in Act 1, Scene 7, when he was considering killing the king. Compare that to him now. He says, this is another great quote, just to show just like the lack of care and why people don't like him anymore, because he says, send out more horses, scur the country round, hang those that talk of fear. Quite literally hang, execute, kill anyone who talks of being afraid. Give me my armour. And I put a link there for you to the quote from Act 4, Scene 1, where he said about the very firstlings of my heart shall be the firstlings of my hand, sort of showing impulsiveness, like just not even considering things, just acting without thought. And that's what he's just done there. Just kill anyone who talks about being afraid. Then he asks, how does your patient, doctor? Referring to Lady Macbeth. She's troubled with thick-coming fancies that keep her from rest. So, like, her lack of sleep is really affecting her well-being. It's keeping her from rest, and rest is what she needs. Macbeth simply just says, cure her for that. He just, as I put on the arrow, just continues to show his overconfidence when talking about curing Lady Macbeth. And that's what he does all through there. Basically, he talks about plucking out from the memory these problems, and just that will remove things. The doctor says, well, the patient must be able to help themselves with that. And then he says, Macbeth says at the very top, throw physics to the dog. Like, throw all this sort of medicine and ideas to the dogs. I'll have none of it. Come, put my armour on. But I've highlighted that in yellow, because if you just scan down a little bit further, also in yellow there, you've got pull it off. And I've put there, it's like he's just completely out of control and distracted as well. He doesn't know what he wants. Put my armour on, pull it off again. He's distracted and he's out of control. In the middle arrow there as well, the second one down, I've talked about Scotland. Once again, if you've watched any of my other videos on other scenes, throughout Act 5, Scotland is almost personified as being something sick or somebody sick. And he talks about curing her of disease, purging it, which means like removing everything that's causing illness. And then further down, the last arrow I've put there, we've got this rhyming couplet from Macbeth before he goes off. Be not afraid of death and bane till Burnham Forest come to Dunsinane. Like, once again, Macbeth does this almost always before he leaves, this rhyming couplet which echoes the witches. So in this scene, I've put kingship as a theme because it almost shows the complete opposite of what a good king looks like. The way that Macbeth is acting, as I said earlier, impulsively, and like not considering what he's doing. Power has overcome him, and he also is losing the power and control as well, because we know his soldiers are abandoning him and his thanes. He says at the very beginning, fly false thanes, like go away you false people who I don't trust anymore. And also consequences. We're starting to now see the consequences of his action. We've heard about Lady Macbeth not being able to sleep because of the guilt and what she's done, and if you haven't seen Act 5 Scene 1 on my videos, definitely worth watching that one as a real key scene. And we're seeing really the consequences of their evil actions. So there's some quick revision questions for you to have a go at. Pause this slide. All of those videos, all of those answers, can be found inside of this video. And then the final thing is just wanted to talk about that imagery again, like the idea of the yellowing leaf. Macbeth is nearing the end of his life and he knows it, yet he's going to go out with a fight. Although he's clinging on to the witch's predictions, he seems tired, he seems weary, the way he confesses to the doctor about these things as well, and about how he can't expect friends and people who actually honour him properly because of the way he's acted. So just wanted to point out that imagery really, like natural imagery is used a lot in this play, and that is another good example of natural imagery being used. So I thank you for watching this video to the end. Well done for making it. Do check out my other videos. If you're not going to watch them all in order, then definitely target some key scenes, and if you're not sure which ones, then ask your English teacher for some advice. And above all, I wish you the very best of luck when it comes to your exams. Thanks for watching my video, and goodbye.